Welcome to our first coding session of this course. I'm in code editor and the first thing we will make here is we will make the root window. So this will be the main window that launches when an application launches. So this will be the window where all the widgets and everything of our application will go. So this is code editor and I'm using PyCharm as code editor. You can use any code editor of your choice. So let's start. First of all, I will do here is I will import tkinter module. So I will write tkinter import star, which means that import everything from this module. This tkinter is a module where most of the classes like button, labels and different things that we can use for our application that builds up our application resides in this module. So most of the things we will be using from this module. So first of all we have imported this and we say everything by using this star here. Now what I will do here, I will make the root window. So I will say root is equals to tk. So this is a class that will provide us with the root window. And this is in this module tkinter. So we are using tk for our root, and what next I will do here is I will put it in a loop. So what this main loop is, what I'm doing here is I will just tell you in a while when I will run the application. So there are two lines which will make our root window. So I will just run it. And as you can see, it is running, but it does not show the window because it is hidden behind this window. It usually happens, I will just launch this from here. Here is our window. It was behind our code editor. So when it happens, you can find it on the top left corner. It will be behind your code editor if it happens to you. So here is our first window. So this is the window of our application. We can resize it, and there is nothing yet inside because we have not added anything yet, but our window is here. Now what this root.main loop statement means here, as you can see this window is continuously here. You can just look at this console here at the bottom where there is written users Hamza. So I will just cancel it. As you can see, it says process finished with exit code 0. As when every application closes, it says this process finished. But as soon as it was running, it didn't show this message. So now what I will do, I will remove this from here. Now I will run it again. As you can see, it ran it again and finished the process directly. So what it does, it popped the window of our application and closed it. But we don't want that. We want that window to stay there until the user presses the close button. So what we do here is we use this root.main loop, which puts that application into a loop. So as soon as the user closes it, it gets closed. Otherwise, it's in a loop. It is in a continuous loop that keeps it on our screen. So I will run it again. And as you can see, it's again hidden. So I will just pop it here. As you can see, the program has yet not ended because the console is not telling us our application is here. Now it will it will be on our screen until we close it. So now I will close it and you can see that our program will end here. Here I crossed it and the program ended. So we have made our root window like this, and now in the upcoming sessions we will make our application by adding different things in this window. So that's all from this session. Widgets are a very important part of any Python GUI application. Widgets are classes provided by tkinter module, and these classes includes buttons, labels, entries, and a few more. Buttons are clickable, label is any text on our application screen, and entry is a box where we can enter text, and there are checkboxes and a few more. So how we can use these widgets? We have to make object of these classes. For example, we want to show a label in our application, that is some text in our application. So we will use label class, and while making the object of this class, we have to provide a few arguments. The first argument is the root window where this label will go. As we know, we have already made our root window in a previous session. So we have to tell these widgets that where they will go, in which window they will appear. So the first argument is root here. I'm saying go into the root window and display there. And the other arguments are the styles and a few more things. So we can customize our label and we will see how we can do this. So let's see how we can make these widgets in code editor. Welcome! In this session, we will add a label to our root window by using label widget. So I am in code editor and I will write the name of that widget. Label, as you can see, IntelliSense is telling us about this. So label is a class provided by tkinter and I am using it. So in the arguments of this class, as I am making object of this class, I have to specify where I want to add this label. So I want to add it in root window which we have here. So I will specify root here. Now it will add a label in our root window. So next we can give a lot of more arguments like color, font and much more. But for in this lecture I will just give it text. So text is a property that specifies the text of our label. So I will say here my first label. So label says my first label and add it to the root window. Now there is one more thing. We have to use some geometry manager to specify the position of this label on root window. So we will get into the details of geometry managers as there are multiple geometry managers, but for now I will use just the pack geometry manager and it will place it in our window. So I will just quickly run this to see the output. As you can see, it is running but it's not showing the window. Why? Because it is hidden behind this code editor. I can run it from here. As you can see, it appeared. If you don't see this window, you can search it on the top left corner and it usually appears there. It might be behind your code editor. So I will just expand it and you can see that it says my first label and it is placed in the center top of this window. So our label is successfully placed in our window. Now further what we can do here is, as we know label is a class here and we are making an object of this class, so we can also catch this object. So how we can do that? I will write some name here for the object, let's say my label, and put it equal to this class. So I'm catching the object here in my label. What it will do, I can use this object later on in my code. So that's very important. And we can also move this .pack statement, that is geometry manager, into the next line as well. How we can do that? Let's see. I will write the name of the object my label and then say pack. So instead of doing it in one line, you can do it on separate lines. So that will make the code neat and more understandable. So I will just run it again to see the output and there will be no difference in the output. As you can see, still the window is there and the pack is working. So that's all from this session. In this session, we will add button to our root window. So we will be using button widget that is provided in tkinter library. So I will write the name of the class button here. As you can see, it's provided in tkinter library. And in the arguments of this class, when I am making object here, first of all, I will send the root window here where I want this button to be. So I want this button to be in the root window, and then I will specify the text of this button and it will be like we can say click me. So the button will be saying click me, and the other argument which we can send here is command. Command is an argument that tells the button that what it needs to do when it is clicked. So there needs to be some action attached with the button as it is a button. So command will tell the button that what it should do. So I will write the name of some function here. Let's say button tapped. So this will be the function. I will just define it here on the top. Now in the body of this function, what we can do here is we can show a message box to user when this button is clicked. For that we can import message box here. So I will write from tkinter import message box. So what this message box does is it pops a window on the screen showing some message. So I have a function here, button tap. So in the body of this function I will write message box dot show. This show function will show the message box on screen, and it can take multiple arguments. The first argument I will send here is the title of that window. So the title of that window will be a message, and in the body of this window the second argument is the body of that alert. So what I want in the body, I will say button clicked. So this will be our message box. We have our button widget here, which is in the root window, and its text is click me, and when it is clicked we have a command here, button tapped. So when it is clicked, this function button tapped will be called and it will show a message box on the screen. And before running it, we need to call pack on this button widget. That is a geometry manager, and it will place this button in our root window. So let's run this and see the output. As you can see in the output, when I expand this window, there is a button named click me. So the button click me is successfully added. Now I will click it and we will see. As I clicked it, it showed a message box, which title is message, and in the body there is written button clicked. So we successfully made a button, and on click we showed an alert. So we can do multiple things when this button is clicked. So currently we are showing a message box, but we can do other things as well. So when we will move in our other sessions, we will try doing some other things as well. So that's all from this session. Welcome! In this session, we will link labels and buttons. So we will learn how to link different widgets. So first of all, for that, what we will be doing here is we will make a label and a button, and on click of that button, we will change the text of label. So first of all, I will go ahead and make a label here. I will catch the object in this variable named label, and I will now write label class. This is the widget. I will pass it the root window where it will display, and then usually what we have been doing so far is we have been changing text like this. So what we are doing, we are hard coding text here. That is, when the label will display, it will show this text there. So now when we want to change its text on a button click, then we cannot do it like this. So what we will be doing here, we will be using a text variable instead here. There is another argument named text variable like this, and we will not set it directly to a hard-coded text. Instead, we will be using a variable here. And what I will say, I will name this variable label text, as it will be holding the text of the label, and I will make it equal to string variable class. As you can see, we have this class string variable. It is a very useful class. It provides us some good functions that we can use. Now when we will move ahead, you can see those functions. So what I will do, I will use the function of now this is the object of this class string variable, and this variable I can set the text of this label. I can write label text is equal dot set. I'm using this function set of this class string variable, and here I can provide whatever text I want there to be. So I will say label, for instance. That is, our label will be saying label here, and here in text variable I will make it equal to label text, the variable which we have just made. So now this is a variable text and it can be changed. And then what we usually do is we call the pack function to put it on the root window. But in this case, when we are getting the object of this label here, this is not a good thing here, that calling dot pack on the same line. Why? Because we have to use this object now. Previously we were not using this object, so there was we actually did it like this dot pack. So now when we do dot pack on a same line, it will make this object to none. Because this label has to return us a object, it will return, but when we call dot pack, it also returns null. So it will make this object to none here. I will show you in a while that why we are doing this on a separate line. So I will do the same thing on a separate line. I will write label dot pack. Now I'm not assigning it there. As previously we were assigning it there, now we are not assigning it, so the return type of this will be ignored, but it will be still on the screen. So I will just run it and we will see this. As you can see, our label is there on the window. So now let's go ahead and make a button here. So I will say button, this is a widget name, and I will say go in the root window. I'm not getting the return type of button here because we do not require the object. We do not have to do anything on that object. So button in the root window, and then we will set the text of this button, which will be equal to, let's say, click, and this button is clickable, and then we will set a command here so that when it is clicked a particular function is called. And what we can set command to, we can make a function here. I will name it on button click, because this will be the function that will be called on button click. Currently it shows an error because this function is not yet there, so I will go here and make this function. So we have a function. Now in the body of this function we will simply change the text of our label text variable. As we know, when we change this variable text, it will reflect in on our label. Why? Because we have set the text variable property here. So now whenever this variable label text value is changed, the change will be reflected on our label. So value will be automatically changed. So what I will do here is I will write label text, which is our variable, and then set function, and I will set the text to whatever I want here. So let's say we will set it to text changed on button click, so that we can see that it is done after a button click. So initially the text of our label will be label, and then it will be text change on button click when we click the button. Only there is one thing left, that we need to call the pack here. So I am calling pack on the same line because we are not getting the object of this button because we do not require that. So this is it. Now let's run it and try this. As you can see on our window, there is a label and a button named click. So now I'm going to click this button here. As you can see, when I click the button, the text changed on the label. Text changed on button click. So it says this. And now this thing is working fine, that on button click we are changing the text of our label. Now let's do some modifications here. I can also change the color of the button. So let's say this button says red. So whenever this button will be clicked, the label will say red and its background color will also change to red. Let's see how it's done. And now in our function here on button click, I will remove this text and add a text here, red. So now whenever this button will be clicked, it will change the text to red, and let's change the background color. So how we can change the background color? This is our label object here with the name label small l. I will write the name here label, and then I will call the function config. By using this function we can pass these arguments which we were passing before while making the class object. So what I can do here is while saying config, I will say bg, that stands for background, equal to red. So I can give any colors here in this bracket, red, green, yellow, and the names are same as they are of color. So what I will do now, I will run this and we will see the output. As you can see in the output, our button text has been changed to red and label is still there. Now I'm going to click this button, and as you can see, the label text is changed to red and background color has been changed to red. Now what I will do here, I will make two more buttons, let's say green and blue, that will, according to their names, will change the color and text here. So I will change the name of this function to change to red. So as what I'm changing the name to define as what it is doing, I will make two more functions here like this one, and one more function here. So this one will be changed to green, let's say, and this one changed to blue. As there are three buttons, first one with red, green, and then blue, so the green will change the text to green, and color will also be green, and then blue, name will be blue, and color will be blue. So now we have three functions here and we can bind them to three buttons now. Now let's move here. As you can see, currently we have only one button. So what I will do here is I will copy this 2 more times here. And now we have 3 buttons. The first one will say red, the second one green, and the third one blue. So when we click on this button, it changed to red and then the text of the label and color. Now we have to send the command as well. So what I will do here is, first of all, I will change this to red. So the first button red, its callback command will be changed to red, and then this one will be changed to, as you can see, IntelliSense is telling us about these functions, but you have to take care, like when you click it from IntelliSense, as you can see, it added the round brackets here as well, but we don't have to pass round brackets when we are calling it in a command parameter, command argument. So what I will do, I will remove these round brackets. So make sure that you remove these brackets if you are getting it through IntelliSense. And here I will change blue. So again I will remove the round brackets here. So these round brackets which I remove here are only not required in this command function. Otherwise, when we are calling the functions in our Python language, we add them there, but they are not there in this button widget when we are doing so. So if we want to pass some arguments to this function, then we will be using lambda there, and we will discuss it in our later sessions. So for now, what we are doing here is we have 3 buttons and they have callbacks, different callbacks, 3 functions attached to them. Now what I will do, I will run this here and we will see the output. As you can see in the output, there is a label and we have 3 buttons here, red, green and blue. Let's click red. As you can see, on the click of red button, the background of the label has changed to red and the text says red, and on green click, color has changed to green and the text to green, and on blue, it's changed to blue. So I will press red again, and now we have 3 buttons with different functionality there. So we have successfully connected label and buttons. So this is very often required, that we need to connect buttons and labels and different widgets there. So when we will move forward, we will be linking up different widgets as well. So that's all from this session. Welcome. In this session, we will add some check buttons in our root window. So to make a check button, we use class name check button, and then we add the first argument, which will be root, that is the window on which we want to add this check button, and the second argument will be the text of this check button, and let's say we can say milk, and then dot pack, which will add it into our root window placement geometry manager, and then we can repeat this for a few times with some other values like apple juice, mango shake. So I have added 3 check buttons and I will just run this and we will see the output. As you can see in the output, there are 3 check buttons on screen. So we can just check mark them. Multiple can be selected at the same time as well. As you can see, I have selected all of these. So these are useful when you are taking some information from user. For example, I add a label here. I will add it in root window and I will set it text to which one is your favorite. So we can ask the user about which one is his favorite, and we will add pack here to place it in our root window, and then we will run it and see the output. As you can see in the output, we are asking the user which one is your favorite. So he can select one or he can select all if all are his favorite. So this is how we use check button. Welcome. In this session, we will learn about entry widget. Entry widget is a very important widget because it is used to get text from user. We can enter text in entry widget. So how we can make it? We will write the name entry here, that is the name of the class, and then we will tell the window in which it needs to be. So that is the root window, and that's it. Entry widget will be created here, and then what we will do, we will pack this on the window. But before that, we don't have to do it on the same line because we don't have to destroy this object. So I will make a object name entry with small e. So in this object we have this entry. Now we can pack this here. I will say entry dot pack, which will place it in our window, and I will run it and we will see if our entry is there or not. As you can see here, we have our entry widget. We can enter anything here. As you can see, enter your name. So we can get text from user here. Now what we can do further here, we can do multiple things on this. Like we can change its background and foreground color. Let's see. As this is on the root window, I will say bg for background is equals to, let's say, red, and I will say foreground fg is equals to blue. So what I'm saying here, this will change the background to red and fg will change the foreground, that is the text color. So the text color will be blue and the background will be red. So let's run it again and see the output. As you can see, the background is red, but we have to enter some text. Let's say enter your name. As you can see, the text is in blue. So we can do, there are a lot of colors we can give here. Like I will change the foreground from blue to yellow, and I will run it again. So let's see, yellow color. As you can see, the text color has been changed to yellow. So now we will do some more things here. Now I will make a button that will be used to clear the text of this entry widget, and we will learn how to clear the text of this widget. So let's make a button here, and this button will be on root window. Its text will be clear entry box. So it will clear the text of the entry box. So what I will add here, the command which will be used for the callback function, and let's say the name of this callback function will be clear text. We can give any name of our choice because this is a function, and then I will pack it here. So now I will make this clear text callback function here on the top. So I will say clear text. In the body of this function, what we will do, we will call a delete method on this entry object. We have, as you know, this is an object, so we have multiple methods, functions available on this that we can use. So I will write the name here, entry dot, I will say delete. As you can see, the m here, small m beside delete, IntelliSense is telling us about this function. So we will use this function. It will take two arguments, the first index from where it needs to start and the last where it needs to go. So we will say start from the 0 index and go to end in the capital letters, which will mean that we are saying start from the 0 index and delete all the alphabets, all the text inside of our entry till end. So let's see, I will run it again and we will see the output here. As you can see, our entry box is there and the button is there, clear entry box. I will write some text here, text to be deleted. So we have some text here in our entry box. Now I will click this button. As you can see, the text is gone. So whatever I write here and then press this button, the text will go. So this is how we clear the text of any entry box. But as you can see, I entered a name text here. How to get this text to use somewhere? So I will now make a label here and I will change the functionality behind this button, and what it will do is when I click the button, it will show the text of this entry box onto that label. So let's see how it's done. First of all, I will change the name of this button. It will be saying show text on label, as we will be having a label on which we need to show text, and the name of the function will be show on label. So I will write it here. We do not need to change the name, but the thing that I am changing name is just to make things clear. Well, if we do not change the name here, it will still work, but I change names for the better understanding that what that method is doing, so its name should be same as what it is doing. So what I will do here, I will remove this thing here, but before doing this, I will make a label on which I need to show the text. So I will make a label here and it will be in the root window, and its text will be text variable because we have to change the text of the label depending upon the text inside our entry box. So I will say text variable is equals to, here I have to provide a variable, but before providing the variable I have to make it. So I will say label text variable and it will be equal to string variable. Initially I will set the text of this label text to dashes, which will indicate that currently there is no text. So I will just say here I will have to provide a label variable here, so I will say label text. So now initially text will be equal to this, and then as I have to pack this and I don't have to lose the object here, so I will make the object here as label. I'm getting the object from label into this variable, and then I will pack in next line. I will say here label dot pack. So that's it. Now we have to change the functionality here in our function. So when this button is pressed, this function will be called. And what we need to do, we need to get the text of entry and show it on label. So how we can do this? We have to change the value of this variable label text which we have here. So I will say label text dot set. Now how we can get the text of entry box? We will write the name of object entry as we have this entry object here and call the function on it, that is get. So it will get the text of entry and show it on the label. So that was all from this function. Now I will run this and we will see the output here. So let's see, we have our text box, we have our label, we have the button. So I will enter some text here, let's say apple, and I will press this show text on label. As you can see, now label is showing the text of the entry box. So we have successfully got the text of entry and showed it on label. So I will add something here. Apple is a fruit. So as you can see, that phrase is there now, and we can change it to anything, mango. And whenever we click on this button show text on label, it will show that text on label. So we can do a lot of things with these entry box as our application requires these entry box. So we can have multiple entry boxes and we can get the text and do whatever we want with that text. So currently we are showing it on label. So that's how it works. So that's all from this session. Welcome. In this session, we will learn about radio button. Radio button is used when we want to select a single option, that is one option from multiple options. So if we have multiple options and we want to select one option there, we use radio button. And to use the radio button widget, we write radio button. So this is the name of the class radio button, and then we specify in which window it will be. So it will be root, we want it to be, and then we will set it text. So text will be whatever we want the radio button to display, the single radio button. So what I will say here, let's say we are asking the user that what is his favorite weather. So let's say sunny, and then we have to specify the value which this radio button will contain. So as there will be multiple radio buttons on our screen, so we have to specify some value to this radio button that when it will be selected we can use that value. So that can be an integer or it can be a string. We can also give the value sunny. So for example, if sunny is selected, we can give the value sunny, but I will use that as well. But first of all we will use it with an integer. So I will say value is equals to 1, as this will be our first radio button in the list. So then okay, let's make another radio button and then we will specify other attributes of this one. So I will say pack here to put it on the screen. Now I will copy this for a few times. So we have other options here like rainy, wet, and dry, cloudy. So we have multiple radio buttons on our screen. Now I will add a label as well that will specify that what these labels are. So I will write label, name of the class, it will be in the root window, and then text will be equal to what is your favorite weather. So user can select from these options in the radio button: sunny, rainy, wet, dry and cloudy. And for now these all have same value 1. So I will change the value. So value 1 for the first one, value 2 for the second, 3, 4 and 5. As we have 5 radio buttons, so everyone has a unique value. As it has to have a unique value, so we can differentiate between these radio button results. So I will just run this and we will see the output here. As you can see, we have all these radio buttons there, but our label is not there because we forgot to pack it there. So I will just pack it there, dot pack, and it will display there. So let's run it again, and as you can see our label is there as well. So I can select rainy, I can select wet, I can select dry, and any of these I can select. So they have a unique value by which I can differentiate between these radio buttons. And radio button is a type of button that can only one button can be selected at a time. So if the user favorite is sunny, he will click on sunny and we can get the value here, that is 1. So how we can get this value? We have set the value for every radio button, but how we can use this? For using this, we have to set another attribute of radio button, that is variable, that will specify that in which variable we want to store this value. So I will make a variable here. Let's say the name of the variable will be radio button value. So we can name it anything, so it will contain the value. So I have named it radio button value, and it will be integer variable. So what I will do here, I will say radio button value, and I will repeat this for all the other radio button because these all will be connected to a same variable here, like this. So which the user, when select any radio button, the value goes into this variable. So if he selects rainy, the value 2 will go in this variable. So I will keep check on this variable, and the value which is in this variable is the value of the selected radio button. So if wet will be selected, in this variable I will be having 3. So that is the reason why we have connected the same variable with all of the radio buttons in one category. So these 5 are in the same category, so we have connected them with this variable radio button value, and it will contain that value. So to see this value, what I will do here, I will just make a button here, and on this button click, I will just put it in the root window, and text will be equal to show radio button value. So it will just show the radio button, it will print the value here. So what I will do here, I will attach it with a command. So whenever it is clicked, we goes to some particular function, and I will say show value. We have to make this function because it is not yet there, so I will make it here, show value function, and in the body of this function I will just print the radio button value by using this variable and then get on it. Because this is an integer variable here class, we can use a get function to get the value of this variable. So, and it will be printed here in this area. So I will just run it again and we will see the output here. As you can see, we have our application here. Now let's click at our button is not there because we didn't add it back. We should always add this, or we should the geometry manager which we are using. So I will just run it again and we will see the output. Okay, our button is there. Now let's see, I click on rainy and the rainy has a value 2. So I will show radio button, and as you can see here on the bottom it printed 2, which means the value is 2. So now again what I will do here, I will click on another dry and show radio button value, and as you can see the value is 4 here in the bottom. So if I click on cloudy and show, it shows 5. Now let's change these values from integer to string. So I will say this is now string variable instead of integer, and value here for sunny will be sunny. So whenever user clicks on sunny, I will get a value Sunny. So it will be simpler. So I have by this name the value will be Sunny. So I will directly get to know that which radio button is clicked. So this one Rainy, then on the value 2 Rainy, and on value 3 Wet. This one will go to Dry, and this one Cloudy. So now we have string variables, now we have string values, and that will go in this variable, and now this is changed to string. So what I will do, I will run it again and we will just see the output. So let's click on Wet. So I clicked on Wet and I will show radio button value. You can see here at the bottom it showed Wet, and I clicked on Wet. So now I will click on any other, Cloudy, and show. As you can see, it shows Cloudy there at the bottom, and when I click on Sunny, it will show Sunny. So that's how we get the value of radio button. Now we can utilize this value for any purpose. If we are doing, depending upon our application and depending upon our usage, we can just use this value. And this is one category of radio buttons. We can add other categories as well that will have their separate variable that will contain its value. So that's how we use radio buttons. Welcome. In this session, I will tell you about why we shifted this geometry manager function .back on label to next line. As you can see on buttons, we have added it on the same line. And in case of label, I added it to next line. We could have added it to same line, but that will cause some issues here. So when we have to add it on the next line, as you can see, I'm using the label widgets object here in this label variable. Why? Because I am using it for changing the attributes somewhere, but I'm not doing it in case of button because I do not require the object of button in this particular application. So there are times when you require the object of button, but for this application we didn't require that. So the only variable, the object which we required was of label. So when we are using the object here, as you can see, this label will return us the object in this variable. So we are doing the pack on next line. So we will see why. I will run this application to see currently what we are having here. As you can see, we are having 3 buttons and a label. So when red is clicked, background is changed to red, and green to green, and blue to blue. So what we will do here now, we will shift this pack to the same line and we will see what happens. I have removed this here and I put that pack on the same line. So let's run it again and see what happens here. As you can see, the application is working, but when I click on red, we got some errors here. It has changed the text here because that was related to the variable, label text variable, but it has not changed the background color. What it says here, none type object has no attribute config. Why none type? We are getting label here from this widget, but the reason is it is saying that none type, this label is none. It has none value, so it cannot have this config function here on label. We cannot have this function. As you can see, we are calling this function here on label. We are using it. So it says this is of none type label. Why? Because this thing will return us the object. But when we are calling this pack function on top of it, it will make it none type. It will return null and it will make it none type. So it will override this. So when we do it on next line, then we are not assigning it to anything. As you can see, here we were assigning the value, but now we are not assigning anything. So I will just remove this from here, and now .pack will only place it in the window instead of assigning any null values there. So I will run it again and it will work as it was working before. So as you can see, now the colors are changing. So whenever we need to use the object anywhere, so we have to do the geometry management functions on next line. In the future sessions, we will also be working on grid geometry manager. So we have to take care of these things there. So that's all from this session.